Okay, today's talk is on intergalactic understanding of how people on Earth are governed. Now, all of the things that we know about government are Earth-based and Earth-based history. We don't know how other planets are governed. Right? We don't even have first contact with extraterrestrials. So, how on earth are we going to have official information from other civilizations? And you just look up, get away from the city lights, go out at nighttime and look up at the number of stars that you can see on a clear night. And get binoculars and look with binoculars and see how much more you can see. It's like there is so much life in our universe. The life is there, but we don't have official contact with it, and we don't know how they're governed. So to say that the only choices on the menu of how we are governed are the ones from Earth and Earth history is very much limiting our choices. We could guess what other planets might be governed by, and then we can give ourselves a grade as to how much are we getting for what we're giving up. In other words, what we give up when we let others govern us is a say. And in return, we get the benefits, whatever benefits we accrue to us for being citizens of a jurisdiction where others are in charge. Other ideas that are in the Earth lexicon are direct democracy, which is instead of you having a representative vote for you in Parliament, when they might not, even if you voted for them and they got in, they might not go with what you want. Direct democracy is maybe you use your smartphone and everybody in your country votes on everything. You've got 12 hours to vote on this item that's part of your country, and you vote yes or no on everything. That certainly gives you more say, and it gives you the option. The problem is that maybe you have other things to do and you don't want to spend all this time on your smartphone learning about all these different issues and then voting. You kind of just say put it on automatic or something. I simply want to go surfing or skiing for the next few months and I don't want to be involved. So what does it all mean? It means that we have never-ending numbers of choices. And it gets ridiculous. But what we have now is ridiculous. We have no say in how we are governed. It's either comply or don't. And we don't really want to tell you, but a lot of the times we don't really want to be governed in such strict manners. We spend more time worried about the nickel and dime thief who, stole a cup of coffee from somebody than we do at the massive criminals on the planet. I mean massive, I mean by enormous amounts of money and influence on our lives. And I know it's very difficult in a difficult situation to say, okay, I'm a positive person and I'm going to look at the smallest little indicators that I could somehow tell a story about that gives a positive spin on where we are. And this is what I call toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is when you go to such an extreme to find something that's not negative to talk about. You are appearing to be a clown. And we all need clowns because God knows we need clowns. So keep clowning around. Keep playing the game. So in essence, there's no use trying to change government systems. Even though I say we need a revolution, we do need a revolution. But the government systems that we have, what are you going to do? Elect a political party to reform everything? Well, I mean, France does that on a regular basis. They keep coming up with new constitutions. All these different republics of France. So, I mean, maybe that's something that needs to be done. Maybe the constitutions need to be documents that are able to be changed. I mean, somebody says they want them to be long-term. Well, I don't know, but, like Adolf Hitler wanted 10,000-year Reich. And I mean, seriously, do you want to live the same way for 10,000 years? No. Better ideas come along. More changes in the way we are come along, and being stuck with old-fashioned ways from days when the horse and buggy, when none of us even know how to use a horse and buggy. But that's when all of these political constitutions were created, in the days when people were using horse and buggy or just walking. Perhaps even before there were trains. So, being governed by ancient systems is not wise. It's lazy. And people who defend the existing status quo and these old-fashioned constitutions pretty much are belligerent about it. They don't want anything other than, I want purity. I want to be a pure-blooded witch. And that's, when you get the Death Eaters and Voldemort in Harry Potter. Inflexibility. And these ones have come to dominate people on planet Earth. And ones who are still hoping for something better, but they're not being specific. You got to remember that when I'm telling you, you give up your power when you vote for these people is a limited power. Because sometimes there's some issue that you need pushed. So you use the existing system and you go and we call holding your nose, and because that stinks so much, and you vote just to get one particular policy change that is like a major policy for you. For example, legalization of use of cannabis. But other times you say, if I vote, what I'm doing is I am consenting. I'm saying yes to everything that goes along with this system of governments. And the system of governments that we have, many countries have enormous debts. It's basically, you're a person who's very financially stable, and you've got a credit card, and you're very good with your credit card. Maybe you pay it off at the end of every month when you get your statement. You never take on interest. But somebody else, called the government, has got that credit card, and they just keep getting more and more credit cards. And they keep expanding the limits. And then they say, well, who's going to pay for this? And you know whose name is on who's going to pay for it? Yours. So they're taking this debt on in your name. And you're not even aware of it. We have to be real shaman. And the shaman looks to see. And seriously, if the shaman looks and sees, I don't see things moving in the direction I want things to go, then the shaman took an honest look and gave an honest opinion. But if you're looking at it and you're expecting better things to happen, and you're just being average everyday human without all this other, stuff, and you're just an average everyday human, and you walk outside your front door and you look, and if you see chemtrails being sprayed all over your city, you go, this is not what I want to see. This is not a good sign. Or if you hear that the city is madly spending money, but the one thing that they're not fixing is lead pipes. We all know that lead in water is a poison, especially to children. So I don't know, like in our city, they've got like $50 million to go and build a indoor soccerplex, but there's people hooked up to city water whose pipes are lead. And then it's a big question, well, is it a city-owned pipe or is it a private pipe that belongs to the house? That is stupid. You can be battling in court for decades over an issue like this, vast amounts of money wasted on lawyers, and in the meantime, children are being exposed to lead pipes. And people don't really know. I mean, are you going to go spend a whole pile of money on testing, to see what the lead is in your city? We only have Flint, Michigan to know that governments are not looking after us. Water issues in Flint, Michigan. I mean, if the governments cannot keep us in clean food and clean water and clean air with their regulatory systems, then they're doing something wrong. They're not promoting evolution. They're promoting stagnation. We should be looking at the whole planet Earth as a thriving place, which means I should be able to hop on a plane and fly from here in Canada to Ethiopia to go and check things out and see if the governments are working there or not. And it shouldn't cost me like a third of a year's wages in order to do that trip. Because, promises, but our standard of living in Canada has gone way down since the 1970s. So it's totally in the wrong direction. And, saying, well, Joe Biden's running mate is from the Caribbean, and that's positive. It's toxic positivity because it's not accurate. It's like, seriously, who cares what she looks like on the outside? What's going on inside? Is she a wise person? And why are we judging whether she's a woman or a man, or she's a woman of color, or she's a woman that's white? Why is that relevant in 2020? It was the 1950s and 60s when Martin Luther King was saying, don't judge people based upon the color of their skin, but on the quality of the character inside. And no one's going to tell me that there aren't some black women that are horrid, and some white people who are horrid, and some unbelievably wise, beautiful black people, and ditto with the white and every other color of the rainbow. But we know that there are bad actors, and if it's a bad actor who happens to be a woman of color, are you going to say that's a positive thing? Because seriously, this is what we're talking about. Don't look at this situation as a child of about 3 years old going, oh, whoa, hi. And they're talking to everybody that way. I mean, we know that there are bad people. And to whitewash people, it's a funny word to use, but it means to clean people and cover up everything else that's going on behind them. I mean, I find myself half the time defending Donald Trump about all of the rape allegations because 50% of the population of the United States calibrates under 200 on the scale of human consciousness. That means they are professional liars. 50% of the people. Look up the information, Dr. David R. Hawkins. I'm not just making this stuff up. You got to look at the spiritual teacher who did all the research into this, David R. Hawkins. Power versus Force. Some people might remember his first book. He has all kinds of books and videos. And he has, in one of his books, he has a map of planet Earth, and they calibrated the average consciousness of various countries on the planet, and they're not all the same. And even in the best countries with the most consciousness, there's still like, in the United States, there's still like 45, 50% of the population. This would have been like in 2007, that much of the population who are calibrating under 200. The magic number, the first magic number on the scale of human consciousness. And people go from negativity to positivity. So 50% of the people out there, which might mean that 50% of the politicians that you're saying, oh, this is wonderful, what they look like on the outside, and you're not checking with muscle testing. You got to use muscle testing to find out where people are on the scale of consciousness. And a lot of you know this muscle testing. And yes, Dr. Hawkins stuff is all based on muscle testing. So, take a quick look at it and keep waking up. What is the positive thing I see going on right now? I see people, I don't see a lot of positivity. I see overbearing, overregulating governments run by people that I really consider to be low-life. Low on the scale of consciousness. In other words, toxic people. Toxic people running this planet. And, seriously, I see pictures of old-growth forests in British Columbia, and trees are still being cut down, and we're still having this argument about, things are getting better. It's not better. That is a bad sign. So we have to be grounded in this reality and say, things are really shitty on planet Earth. And we're being professionally lied to by the mainstream media and the governments that are following along with whatever bullshit the mainstream media is telling us. We can't fly to Africa to go and see, are the people being housed in Africa? Do they have enough to eat? Or are they all scam artists who telemarket people in North America with scams? Because these are the two stereotypes we have. Either people in Africa are starving, or they're scammers that are calling us trying to steal money from us. Those are the two stereotypes. And seriously, I can't afford to fly to Africa and go and see what's going on there and see for myself. So this is how we live. We live with stereotypes. And we know that that's stupid, but that's the best we can do because it's so unaffordable on planet Earth. If you're an expert at doing what you're doing, and yet you cannot live in the country where you were born, in any of the major cities, because you can't afford a little white house with a picket fence on what you make. And I just posted on this on my Instagram. Someone did the just a simple calculation of like the 1960s versus now. And this was a young person about age 27. And the person said, the system is broken because monetarily, he was comparing minimum wage from then to minimum wage to now, and how long you would have to work to buy a house. And wages have not kept up with inflation. So we're getting worse off. So what do? You point out the evil. You point out the darkness. You look for the systems of darkness. What are the systems of darkness on planet? Number one system of darkness on planet Earth is capitalism, which includes banksterism. If you want to reach for a higher vibration than the capitalist systems of planet Earth, then you go to gift economy. Charles Eisenstein wrote a book on it, gift economy, far higher vibration. So that's where you put your energy. And do not consent to these lesser evils. Say, I will not consent to a lesser evil. I'm going for a wholesale change on planet Earth. We want heaven on earth. And, do you really think in even a Christian heaven that they use money? I mean, Jesus can turn water into wine. So, are they really going to be using money in Jesus' heaven? No, they're not. They're going to be using high consciousness manifestations. And everything's organized by consciousness, real consciousness. On the scale of human consciousness, let's go with people who are at 999 on the scale. So the takeaways from this talk are, number one, don't be satisfied with crap. Number two, call a spade a spade. In other words, be honest and be as if you are a normal human person. Maybe somebody who never studied anything like The Secret or metaphysics or all these alternative health things or herbology, reflexology, alternative anything. Just imagine that you're like, I don't know. I mean, I can imagine like my neighbor, he's like 85 years old and, he doesn't study anything. He's an old guy who works in the garden, washes his car. So if I look at the world from this guy's perspective, or another people that are just, I want to be not them because I'm way more educated in these things. On the other side of the street, I want those people to benefit. And if I look at them and they really can't envision heaven here on earth, then I want to do it for them. Which means that I have got to hold a higher vibration with a more beautiful future than whatever's offered by the various options as possibilities on Netflix or YouTube. We have to go with something better, way better. And is something that is, In the meantime, I'm here at the conservatory because it's becoming very cold outside. And here inside we have got tropical jungle.